thoughts, opinions, and general overall shades thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. It is Friday, December 26th, day after Christmas. And of course, it wouldn't be the day after Christmas if today was not National Whiners Day for all the little crybabies out there that just want to, well, I got my socks and a lump of coal in my stocking on Christmas. Well. You have any whiners at your house, Jesse? You got a lot of kids.
We had a moment.
You had a moment?
With one? Yeah, we had a moment with one of our youngest.
Yeah. What were they whining about? Were they whining about food or presents?
Presents.
Presents, yeah.
For a second.
Yeah, not enough of them.
Well, you know that's the poison of TikTok and social media is you get to see all this comparative BS.
Yeah.
Of other people unwrapping things that make you very jealous.
Jealousy and envy. I don't know, Shaun, you got some little ones. Any of yours throw a fit at Christmas?
That's why I'm shaking my head. My sons know damn well they better not. That would be, oh, really? Nope. We're too militant for that.
Yeah, look at that.
They're too... we just didn't grow up. And I do have to say, though, to Jesse's credit, they do not have TikTok or social media. They are young teenagers without social media. Isn't that great?
Wow, look at that. They're the anomaly factor.
Yeah, they know I would lose my mind. Like, I wouldn't go off. I would just Clint Eastwood it and be like, it's going to be a real good new year, isn't it? We're going to get real. If we want to be grown like that, okay.
Do you put a toothpick in your mouth when you Clint Eastwood it?
You can, but you don't have to. It depends on how, what's in it's got to be a joint. That's what makes it more Clint Eastwoody.
Well, I mean, people in Texas smoke pinners, and that could be classified as a toothpick. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
More on the dog walkers, not the pinners.
Dog walkers are pinners. Dog walkers are toothpicks.
Stone's not here to defend himself. You used to call him. Yeah. You used to say that.
Yeah, he does. All right. Dr. Mark, you had any whining going on at your house yesterday?
Well, my kids are of the consuming age, so wine is a completely different thing, right?
Yeah. I see what you did there.
Whining that goes on, leaves empty bottles and broken glass. And no, I mean, all kidding aside, yeah, we had a wonderful, our immediate family. So my son and my daughter were.
Love it.
And, yeah, that was great.
Love it.
It was great.
Love it. It's also National Thank You Note Day. Don't forget to thank all the people that got you great stuff.
Well, once you're done whining, you learn to write a thank you note, and then it fixes it all.
Yes, that's right.
Or if you write the thank you note first, if we're going to get all emo and emotionally intelligent about it.
No emos.
If you write the thank you, if we get my little coaching background, if you write the thank you note and the gratitude first, you probably won't whine. So if you're ever feeling like bitching about shit in your life, Write out
Shaun,
your gratitude.
how are you supposed to write?
Reframe.
How are you supposed to write a thank you card out for something that you don't know you've received yet?
No, write gratitudes out for other shit. If you're grateful for other things in your life, the things
But
that you
we're
feel that
talking
you
about
lack,
snot-nosed
you're
little
gonna
kids.
Stop. You're gonna, even the kids. It's a psychological thing. It's a dopamine thing. You got to train the behavior.
I don't know. I don't know.
Like a job for AI.
Yeah, exactly.
Got to train the behavior, guys.
Yeah, you're gonna get them to use grok and then be like, write my thank you notes. Da, 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 da.
No. You can't outsource gratitude the day after Christmas.
Hey,
No, it's an AI algorithm. You just put in who got you what, and it spits out your thank you notes without having to do too much thinking.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
No, I'm still a fan of the handwritten. If you can do
Me too.
it, it's always a very nice touch.
I agree. Handwritten notes always mean the most. I know I gave out a couple Christmas cards and some of them I actually hand delivered, and I'll tell you what, I brought one lady to tears. Yeah, I did. But they were happy tears. She was like, "Oh my." It was pretty.
There's some things in life you want to outsource, and then there's some things in life you want to keep human because that's part of this experience.
Mm-hmm. And on that, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. As also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website, www.high9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. And Dr. Mark, I have a study for you to kick off the show today. That's right. There's a study. That's right. CBD-Loaded Biohybrid Micelles show enhanced anti-cancer effects in colon cancer cells, Dr. Mark. How'd I do with that?
So far, so good.
All right, here we go. A new study reports that CBD Cannabidiol may become more effective against colon cancer when delivered using a specially engineered oral drug delivery system designed to improve targeting and reduce side effects. The research was published in Archives of Biochemistry and Biophysics and was conducted by scientists at East China University of Science and Technology. The team focused on overcoming long-standing limitations associated with CBD, including poor water solubility, low oral bioavailability, and non-specific distribution in the body. To address these issues, researchers developed Biohybrid Micelles composed of polyethylene glycol and chitosan. Chitosan.
Polyethylene glycol and chitosan.
All right. Chitosan with bile acid and the flavonoid quercetin. Quercetin.
Quercetin. It's really good for you.
Okay, flavonoid quercetin incorporated on the surface. And according to the study, this combination was designed to enhance intestinal absorption, improve controlled release, and amplify CBD's anti-cancer activity through synergistic mechanisms. In a series of in vitro experiments, the CBD-loaded Micelles were tested against 3 human colon cancer cells, HCT116, HT29, and cacao-2. The Micelle-based formulation reduced cancer cell survival in a dose-dependent manner and consistently outperformed free CBD. Reported IC50 values showed the strongest response in HCT116 cells, followed by HT29 cells, and then followed by cacao-2 cells. Further analysis indicated that the Micelles promoted apoptosis and programmed the cell death. Researchers observed increased collapse in 3 out of 7 activity, and along with higher expression of the apoptotic protein BAX. Apoptotic protein BAX, and reduced expression of the anti-apoptotic apoptotic protein BCL-2. These effects were confirmed using ELISA, ELISA analysis. The study also evaluated pH-dependent drug release, simulating conditions in different parts of the gastrointestinal tract, and results showed controlled release over 72 hours, with bile acid releasing most rapidly, followed by quercetin and CBD. And this release profile is intended to support colon-specific delivery while minimizing systemic exposure. Researchers conducted that the PEG chitosan bile acid quercetin Micelles system represents a promising multi-module approach for colon cancer treatment. While the findings are limited to laboratory models, the authors say the results provide a foundation for future preclinical studies aimed at translating this delivery strategy towards clinical use. Well, I think that's pretty good news. They did some good labs, some good tests in a petri dish, and were able to kill these cells. And I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. They're petri dish killers, Dr. Mark.
Yeah, well, lots of things kill stuff in a petri dish, but a couple drops of bleach.
Yeah.
What's notable here, okay, so targeted delivery, especially in the lower GI, can be a challenge because your GI, things get digested in the GI because you need to get the nutrients and carbohydrates and fats and shit from your food before it turns into shit, right?
Yep.
And as food travels through, your digestive system, there's various mechanisms for basically breaking stuff down. So targeting delivery is really super important. Yeah. So what these are, Jason, these aren't Micelles. These are Micelles. And
Micelles.
Yeah, Micelle as kind of like, it's similar to kind of like way when you take soap and water and you wash your hands and you get all that white foam. The foam in soap is actually little miniature micelles. And so
is it the same foam in the ocean when the ocean gets all frothy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Any froth really is basically some type of micelle. The question is like froth on the head of your beer. Usually you don't want it to last very long, but
you want those micelles to die off, right? Quick.
Yeah, I mean, like closed cell insulation for homes is basically foam, right? You want those foam, cells to stay intact, or else they lose their insulating. But so what they're doing is, we've talked about this on High 9 News. You need targeted drug delivery to enhance the bioavailability and to get to CBD to where it's going to, do its, anti-cancer or whatever kind of medicinal chemistry. In this case, they're looking at cancer, right? Is that right?
Yep.
They're looking at these 3 human colon cancer cell lines, and not that it's related, but suppositories are good ways of getting cannabinoids into the colon and the surrounding tissue. But this sounds like it was an oral increase in bioavailability made possible by these chitosan. So chitosan is a material that is basically chitin is shrimp shell, or crab shells. So that hard material is called chitin, and when you hydrolyze chitin, you get chitosan. And chitosan has got a variety of different properties. It's used in wound healing. It's used in all kinds of different medical materials. So they've made basically a micelle using polyethylene glycol is what we refer to usually as PEG. So polyethylene glycol is the thing that they were putting in vape pens a couple years ago, which probably wasn't good to be inhaling into your lungs. But I think polyethylene glycol in the GI tract is completely safe. I don't think it really cause as much issues. It is an artificial ingredient. I think some people could have sensitivities to polyethylene glycol, but certainly if you have colon cancer, that's the premier health issue that you're looking to treat. So this is great. We know that cannabinoids are anti-cancerous, and now what this group in China has demonstrated is that you can formulate CBD into these chitosan. The quercetin is, again, this compound that's one of the natural flavonoids that occurs in cannabis. It's in a variety of different plants, and it's in green tea and stuff like that. It's one of those polyphenolic antioxidants. They fortify it in everything from baby food to dog food to geriatric medicine. So it's in the human diet a lot. A lot of people aren't getting enough antioxidants in their diet. So yeah, it is something that you probably want to be consuming here and there. But yeah, I guess what I'm unsure, just by from you reading the thing and me looking at this real quickly,
I didn't do good enough. Huh?
Why is this targeted to the lower GI? Maybe what it is it's so difficult to break these micelles.
That's what.
So micelle basically is just a bubble, right?
That's what I got from it, Dr. Mark. Is that they're trying to find something that will deliver into the lower gastrointestinal quadrant and be able to be effective, because normally everything fizzles out before it ever gets to there, so it doesn't really work right there.
That's right. So this thing makes it through the stomach, which is pretty considerable chemical.
That's a serious thing.
Yeah, stomach is pH about 2.
I mean, you get stabbed in the stomach. Acid. I mean, the acid from inside your stomach that depletes anything will automatically start eating all of your organs.
I mean, just think about all that food you ate at Christmas dinner.
Yeah.
Went down into that stomach of yours and got digested. So so if you could break down all that
it sounded like they were using the bile to activate the foaming. Like it sounded like some kind of a solution that you take and then it activates through this PG bile activation, and then probably goes through your system into that particular area with the deliverables. I think available.
Well, I think they had to add the bile because in anyone's gastrointestinal, especially in the lower, there's going to be a little bile pool over there. It's
already bile. Yeah. So maybe in that way, that's a really good point, Shaun. Maybe in that way, bile kind of masks this as something more normal until it gets down to where bile, like Jason said, is naturally present, and so will be secreted and regulated and broken down and built back up. And so maybe it's that process down in the lower gut that's happening that finally blooms these CBD micelles to release the CBD. So yeah, it's an interesting scientific challenge. If you ever want to look, there's these 3-minute videos on YouTube that Science and Nature has put out on GI. So if you Google Science and Nature and GI and put it into YouTube, you'll get these 3-minute cartoon videos that actually show all the biochemistry that goes on down in the gut. And you should realize that, since we all know here at High 9 News that the endocannabinoid system regulates all other systems in the body, is that the endocannabinoid system is at work in sending molecular signals throughout the process of digestion in our GI tract. So there's no surprise that THC and CBD have been used to treat gastrointestinal disorders, right? Trying to do my best to cover for
but then doesn't it make you kind of question, like, I love that they are finding this study, we're proving the science, this is all essential. It would be so nice if they could stop with the nonsense around regulation so we could fund and support more studies like this.
It's coming.
But the question that always comes to mind, but I'm a little bit worried this is specifically for capture. The question that comes to mind for me is, if we're finding these correlations, shouldn't we not be asking that perhaps cancer and all of these issues that we have faced in recent history are the result of a prohibition of exogenous cannabinoids that we need when we're deficient, because we have an endocannabinoid system and we don't the current lifestyle that most of us are living does not help us to more endogenously create cannabinoids, especially as needed. You're seeing some studies where you have, and Dr. Mark, I would love to, if you've heard of this one, where you're seeing folks with PTSD showing more receptor activity, needing more cannabinoids after whatever the event was, whatever created the PTSD. And I think that's why you see the correlation between cannabis and the specific management of PTSD so tightly knit. It just makes me wonder if we're not discovering not the solution to problems, but the problem that we created by creating deficiencies in the modern population. Because before all of this, we had hemp and cannabis. There were tinctures in the 1900s, et cetera. They had all of this. So I don't know. I'm excited, but also I want to point out that this is likely, all of the increase in cancer is likely due to an increase in toxicity in food, in environment, and deficiency of nutrients that we really need, not just through prohibition, but also through the way that we've monocropped agriculture and pulled a lot of nutritional value out of these things. Like Q-certain is found in onions, it's found in plants. A lot of these materials are phytocannabinoids or phytomaterials that would be available if we weren't so ridiculous.
Dr. Mark?
Yes, I agree with you.
All right. All right.
Was there a question in there?
I think she was just asking for agreement.
The possibility is that we're just studying the problems we created?
Well, first of all,
colon cancer is not a solved problem, and colon cancer is something that sometimes, because of late diagnosis, by the time you find out, you really need to attack it. And so, to me, I'm not following your whole train of thought on how this was. I think this is just another manifestation of the anti-cancer properties of cannabinoids, and quite an impressive formulation to selectively, get something down to where it's needed in the GI tract. So, I don't know. This is, all of these publications, Shaun, are all little bricks in the wall, right? I mean, they all create this knowledge that we could all stand on. And yes, it'll be great someday if, botanical remedies are frontline treatments, and there's more people like Dr. T. We've said this a few times, right? We need more doctors like Dr. T, and less doctors like who are just, not considering cannabis as a frontline use to attack things like cancer.
Fair enough. Well, on that, we're going to roll into our first. Or Jesse, did you have anything you want to throw in on this before we move?
Nope.
All right. On that, we're going to roll into our first commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Shit up when we industrialized.
Ah, yes, and we are back. And I have a pretty interesting story I think all of you guys are going to be very entertained over. We've been talking about timelines, and I think I found a timeline for you guys. That's right. Because President Donald J. Trump directs Attorney General Pam Bondi to finalize marijuana's rescheduling by the end of, that's right, you guys, January Look at that, January 2026. President Donald J. Trump has directed Attorney General Pam Bondi to issue a final ruling on marijuana rescheduling by the end of January. January does have 31 days, just so you know, according to two sources close to the president who spoke with the Marijuana Herald. The executive order signed by President Trump last week orders AG Pam Bondi to take all necessary steps to complete the rulemaking process related to rescheduling cannabis to Schedule 3 of the Controlled Substances Act in the most expeditious manner in accordance with federal law. Under federal law, any rescheduling decision must be finalized through the DOJ with coordination from the Department of Health and Human Services, and the department issued their rescheduling recommendation in 2023. Trump's message to Bondi, as described by the sources, underscores that while the administration intends to follow the legal framework, it also expects a timely outcome rather than a prolonged administrative delays. Although Trump ordered Bondi to issue a ruling by the end of January, it is possible a ruling could come early in the month. And if the DOJ follows through with issuing a final rule on an accelerated timeline by the end of January, marijuana would be officially moved to Schedule 3 by the spring, and a change that would formally acknowledge accepted medical use under federal law and significantly alter how the substance is treated for tax, research, and regulatory purposes. Schedule 3 status would not legalize cannabis federally, but it would eliminate the punitive tax provision known as 280E, expand opportunities for scientific research, and allow FDA-approved cannabis medicines to be prescribed nationwide. Currently, only CBD and synthetic THC can be prescribed. The push for a January deadline comes as pressure continues to build for lawmakers, industry stakeholders, and patient advocates who have been awaiting clarity since the rescheduling review began. A final ruling will mark the first change to cannabis's federal reclassification since it was placed in Schedule 1 more than 5 decades ago. And while the DOJ has not publicly commented on the timeline, the president's position suggests the administration wants the matter resolved quickly, setting the stage for a major shift in federal marijuana policy at the start of the new year, 2026. Oh, look at this. We're going to get rescheduling in January, you guys. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. Dr. Mark, get your grant writing paper out ready because we're going to be able to go to town.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is all good. If it gets moved forward this quickly, it'll be
huge. With a Y.
Huge. I think it takes it away from being an election cycle issue, which says that hopefully it's the right momentum going forward. Like we said, in fact, I think I had to cut out of I had a dentist appointment, right? But I was listening to High at 9 on the way to the dentist, and I think I chimed in, right, Jesse?
Yep.
We think this is, I think, so part 2, I don't think Dale's opinion of part 2 was completely aligned with what Jesse presented, which is that this is the carve out for full spectrum, which is exactly what I predicted, right? I said they had to do that, right? Because there isn't an FDA Schedule 3 material that's a plant full spectrum material. And just the point that Shaun was bringing up, we really want to make this about plant full spectrum. It's cannabis. It's not synthetic noids. The synthetic noids, the things that kind of like researchers like me work on, they could be really interesting. Like Delta 8 could be really interesting. HCP could be really interesting. But we need to research those for years and figure out how they fit in to pharmaceuticals. But I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, JB, right? This is what we talked about, Jesse, which was that carve out of cannabis from the Controlled Dangerous Substance Act is to basically say, look, and it's funny, Dr. Oz used CBDs, right?
Yeah.
A couple of times he said, "Ooh, the CBDs. Well, that's good. I mean, maybe he's using the plural there, referring to other cannabinoids, right? And other things you could make.
He's not. No, he's not. No, that's wishful thinking. That's wishful thinking. He's just. No, he's not. No, he's not. No, I'm not buying that one. I do like your optimism, though, Dr. Mark. I do like your optimism on that. That's good. You know what I mean?
Well, they got to do something different because this is not Schedule 3 pills in jars, which is what it is now. So if he's saying that they need to fix this by January, I mean, that's fucking monumental.
It is.
I think what they're going to do is they're going to carve it out. I think what they'll do, and they'll kind of do something like the Cole memo or something that enables to say, look.
Hold on. We don't want anything like the Cole memo because the Cole memo never did anything.
Maybe it's kind of like just the reverse of the Cole memo. Now it's the feds going to the states saying, look, if your businesses are state regulated businesses and they're operating legally and everything, you take care of that. I think what they're going to try to do is take the larger, more maybe lucrative hemp and CBD market and bring that to the modern marketplace, either through Trump RX or through other, branded, medicinal.
No, yeah,
services.
I think you're spot on. I think that there's a few like red herrings to pay attention to in some of this, specifically. Okay, there's a few things. The reschedule can land one of two ways. It can become a total capture for medical,
which is really
not going to. I'm explaining it, Jason. Right. I understand, but it can happen. It can happen. We need to look at the legality.
I don't know if it necessarily can happen though, Shaun, because there's the carve out for whole plant.
Please, just let me finish the train of thought.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying, and I'm not ever going to underestimate the amount of money that has already gone into making sure very select players are able to participate in this industry. We just can't be naive. So there are two. Now, do I have a little bit of hope on this full spectrum thing? Yes, I do, but I am also concerned. And I think what we're missing here is that the conversation about CBD is talking about medicalizing CBD in a way where I am a little bit worried they're actually going to raise the restrictions on hemp and CBD to try to bring it in, because the only way, if you're thinking that you're going to try to go for a full capture, the only way to fully capture it when you have that first premature thought of how you're going to do it, if you've never been in the industry or this is your first time trying to capture a market, you think eliminating all of the other competition is the smart way, right? And so if you're going to do it through marijuana, you had to address the hemp elephant in the room first. That's why they're bringing CBD and hemp. And they're also realizing some of these cannabinoids that have been processed, CBN, aged oxidized THC, or Delta 8, which is also an aged THC, have certain effects that do, like President Trump said, and what was addressed in his executive order, there are medical benefits. And my concern is that actually they're just trying to gather it all up and scoop it so they can capture the whole thing. We need to make sure that we're still showing up and providing sound information to prevent that from happening, because what I don't see is a solution for flower. And bringing it back to that colon cancer one, perhaps what I missed explaining is when we have, and I'm a little bit red flaggy about this because in Texas, we're having new conversations in Texas about total THC, THCA, and it's looking like DSHS is going to move to take flower away. We'll cover that later today. But THCA in those leaves, even without decarboxylation, in the plant leaves, if you eat them like a salad, that will also go through your intestinal tract. And then it's bioavailable because you're literally eating the phytocannabinoids in the plant. It's digestible like the rest of your food. And that might be a simpler solution. That's why THCA is worth protecting, but also because it's the only way to keep the flower market viable while they figure out what they want to do with this pharmaceutical thing. As we've all said, what doctor is going to recommend combusting cannabis? Very few.
I know a few.
We need to come up with some combusting cannabis over taking some pills or no treatment at all. Sure. But from a Department of Health Services standpoint, can they really say combustion is the best delivery method? Combustion and flowers should be saved for an open adult use hemp cannabis market. And then let's treat pharmaceutical cannabis like a pharmaceutical class.
I think they can.
do science research, and you can go play with all of those cannabinoids in a lab where we can actually see the effects of what happens to the brain when you consume massive amounts of delta 8 or when you consume HHC or these hydrogenized cannabinoids. Even though I'm for the hemp market and all of this, some of these things, much like polysaturated fats, and I have my opinion on good food, like I wouldn't consume food that is really processed or unhealthy. I wouldn't consume the same in cannabinoids. And I do think we need to be very protective of that whole plant. So I see that there's two paths here, and we got to fight for the one that includes flower.
Well, again, I think the path already includes flower. I hear what you're saying, Shaun, but I don't think it's going to play out like that.
I hope you're right, because it'll make our job here, now that we have to go back to DSHS and meet with them about these rules, it'll make it a lot easier if the administration takes a hard stance early on in the year and we don't have to not know what we're all doing while discussing this with rulemakers and legislators, and nobody knows what the federal playbook is going to be.
Well, as you know, Shaun,
Well,
as you know, Shaun, that's one of the things that I practice heavily in on a regular basis, as far as being right. So I think we're going to be able to mark that safe for now. Just saying. Jesse, any thoughts on this?
Oh yeah,
go for it, Jesse.
First of all, this is cool. Anthony has proven a great track record of, he has people close to Trump that he knows a lot about what's been going on. He's been predicting the right things about rescheduling pretty much every step of the way. He's been one step ahead of the game, so he's probably right. These sources are probably pretty accurate, so that's good.
Yes.
The speed, and that's concurrent with what the executive order says. It directs Pam Bondi to be very expeditious in completing this rulemaking. Now that leads to the mystery, right? Exactly how the rulemaking gets completed and exactly what the rules say, nobody knows. That's where the mystery is right now. I got a frog in my throat.
And I'm still a big believer that 280E is only going to be viable for medical. I don't think that it's going to be available. 280E is going to be available for adult use. Well,
this is the thing, is that the executive order is pretty clear about what Trump wants the rules to contain. And the executive order seems to be very clear about saying that the state medical programs that already exist in the form that they exist will be what they lean on to create medical research. So as far as like flower consumption and edibles and the form factors that exist in the medical markets and the medical programs in each state, that should just stay the way that it is. What will happen to adult use is a big question. Will they include that in their definition of medical state program? We don't know.
No, probably not.
And then him adding on that CBD was an additional thing to the state medical programs. That's pretty clear in the executive order. So it seems to me like he's directing the right things, and he's recognizing that there's multiple prongs of these programs and what's going on, and that they all need to be included. But what Pam Bondi and the HHS actually do and how they take that advice from the executive order is yet to be seen. So hopefully they do walk this through the right way. They have great people around them who know cannabis and who've been in cannabis for a long time. So hopefully they're getting the right advice, and we're going to see this march through quick.
Yeah. Speaking of marching through quick, we're going to keep this thing marching on, and we're going to roll right into Dr. Mark Scialdone. He is a cannabis researcher. He's a scientist, and he also knows how to find cannabis compounds that no one has discovered them and then name them really cool names. He's out there in the great Green Mountain state of Vermont, where he's out in, if his name was Chester, he would be a cold Chester today, because it is, baby, it's cold outside. It is none other than Dr. Mark Scialdone.
Hey, thank you, Jason.
Yeah.
And Merry Christmas, right?
Merry Christmas.
Right?
Yeah.
So we can safely
100%. This is a Merry Christmas show. Yeah, 100%.
Regardless, that people say, we usually say Jerry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Okay. Today, my story comes from, it's just more of the same stuff here, which is that we're seeing more studies that are coming out on CBD. In this case, it's titled Cannabidiol shows protective effects against acute liver injury by preserving mitochondrial function. So according to a study published at the Journal of Ethnopharmacology, cannabidiol significantly reduced liver damage and inflammation in experimental models of acute liver injury, offering new insight into how the compound may protect the liver at the molecular level. Research was conducted at Southern Medical University in Fujian Medical University, which I take it is somewhere in China.
It sounds like China.
Yeah, that's China. Acute liver injury is associated with dangerous conditions that can quickly progress to liver failure associated with high mortality, making identification of protective treatments a major focus area of medical research. Using a mouse model in which acute liver injury was induced with lipopolysaccharide and D-galactosamine, researchers found that CBD administration at doses of 2.5 and 5 milligrams significantly reduced markers of liver damage, including alanine aminotransferase, aspartyl aminotransferase levels, which are two enzymes that track with liver damage. So histological analysis showed that reduced tissue damage, while additional testing revealed lower levels of inflammatory cytokines, oxidative stress, and hepatocyte apoptosis in CBD-treated animals. Further experiments pointed to a key mechanism involving mitofusin-2, a critical protein for maintaining mitochondrial integrity. Do we know what the mitochondria is? People know what the mitochondria is?
I know what a mitochondriac is.
The mitochondria is the little organelle that's inside each of your cells that is basically the energy machine. That's how the cell generates energy. Mitofusin-2 is a crucial protein that's essential for controlling the shape of the mitochondria, movement, and regulating function and a connection that's made with the endoplasmic reticulum. Like I said, its primary function is ATP production, which is a function of glucose metabolism, which has to happen in healthy cells. When that process breaks down, that's when things can get problematic. So further experiments pointed to a key mechanism involving mitofusin-2, a protein critical for maintaining mitochondrial integrity. CBD increased hepatic mitofusin-2 levels while reducing its degradation by interfering with interactions with the protein, parkin. Not sure what that protein is, but I'll look it up after. In immune cells stimulated with inflammatory signals, CBD produced similar dose-dependent effects, improving mitochondrial function, limiting inflammation and cell death. When mitofusin-2 was suppressed, CBD's protective effects were lost, while restoring its expression reinstated those benefits. So that's pretty good, conclusive evidence that that's basically what it's hitting. That's the key mechanism that's involved and why this is working. According to researchers, the findings provide new molecular evidence for supporting potential use of CBD as a therapeutic agent for acute liver injury and may inform future drug development targeting mitochondrial dysfunction, inflammatory pathways. Well, Again, another exciting study that shows yet again another area in the body, namely the liver. Liver's a super important organ in your body to make sure that it's functioning properly. Most of the food and nutrients that come into the body through consumption are metabolized in the liver, so it's important to make sure that your liver is working and healthy. So yeah, this is really great because you always hear about in the clinical trials for Epidiolex when they were looking at CBD, elevated levels of CBD did increase certain levels of liver enzymes. So there's definitely activity that's going on down there. I think at these levels of dosing, which were 2.5 and 5 milligrams per kilogram body weight, that's not a lot of medicine to feel this level of an effect. So I think these studies are great. Shows what we've kind of already known, that cannabinoids are active on the body and can protect just about every organ in the body. And so that's our story today, the day after Christmas. We only got what, 4 weeks or 4 days, 4 weeks, 4 days or 5 days left this year. So it's been 2025 here on at 9 News. And thank you to my fellow correspondents, and here's to a great 2026.
Yeah. Well, this is great news because, I mean, everybody is going to need a healthy liver, Dr. Mark, especially after all the
drinkers.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, especially after all those intoxicants they had to pour in their body just to make it through the holidays to deal with all their problem relatives.
Yeah. Yeah, so things that cause problems with the liver are, of all things, FDA-approved drugs, right?
Yep, exactly right. Exactly right. Man, Jesse, what do you think about this, bro? Liver.
I mean, this is great,
right?
I mean, we keep hearing all kinds of great things about CBD, and really, as Dr. T always says, that's type 3 cannabis, right? High CBD, low THC. So
it's interesting that both these studies that we've talked about so far both come out of China.
Well, you know, China does have the largest CBD hemp farms in the world.
That makes sense.
Right. So, and maybe perhaps the executive order is meant to kind of get out in front of this issue and maybe, get us to be.
Yeah, we need to bring CBD production back to America and get it out of China.
Well, not production, but just leadership in the world. And
that's actually in the language, Dr. Mark.
I think that is such a good way to pitch it to this current administration.
We need to get our CBD back. Yes, that's right. Global dominance. Yes. I was just at well, you know what's funny is because I was at the Space Force conference, and you know what I'm saying, and just and the whole slogan was all about having space dominance. And so, you know what I mean?
Air and space superiority.
That's
and
right.
Dominance,
I'm all about that life. Yeah, America.
Jason was in my old stomping grounds.
Comes to that, right?
Yeah,
I have no idea what the hell they're doing.
I'm so about this. I'm so about this dominance.
The thing is, Dr. Mark, they don't, and that's why it's so important. They don't, and they do, and they have a lot of power. And that's why it's so important to have the right people in the room. There was a good champion in there when that executive order was dropped, and I am hoping that the right folks are having deeper conversations. But if you're going to pitch something to this admin, global dominance and, over your adversary, frenemy states is a good pitch.
Well, the way the executive order is written, that language is almost in there. He didn't phrase it as dominance. He phrased it as Americans should have access to the very best treatments in the world.
Well, exactly.
That was the way that it was phrased in the executive order, which is very similar concept. But we should have the leading medical access of anywhere in the world. We spend more than anyone else in the world, so we should have the best care. And cannabis is one of those places where we just don't have access, and that's exactly the language that was written in the order.
Well,
so that's
it's
really
difficult to exist in the medical dictatorship when in between all of us on the panel who are people who need health care and providers of health care, there has been inserted this billion-dollar boondoggle called the insurance industry. And the insurance industry basically sucks billions of dollars out of the system. That's why we pay more for healthcare and have the worst healthcare here in the States, right?
That point, and to follow up on that, I did read something, and I will have to confirm it or pull the source, but I did think I saw news on how much specifically would be covered by Medicaid. Only $500 a year. What is that? Like someone's monthly supply? Like,
hold on, that's a little distasteful. We need to up that. We need to up that to like, you know, $5,000 a month is what we need to up that to.
Jason, I thought you weren't into government provided subsidies like that. That you want to go now? See how politics change so quickly.
I'm just saying 5,000. I'm saying people need CBD. We could help them take them off a lot of things,
and so they're pitching this
$5,000 a month.
Cover it.
Yep.
And they're pitching it. Oh, it's going to be covered by Medicaid. I saw a number yesterday, or not. It was on Christmas Eve or something, and it was only $500 a year. I think you
missed a zero on that. I think you looked at it wrong.
500. No, I didn't. That's why you have to watch out and look for the fine print when you sign a deal.
I love fine print. It's all about the art of the deal.
Yeah. Everybody can be like, we want more enthusiasm from Shaun, but my job here is to let you know when you're about to run into a brick wall.
I love a good brick wall.
Where did you see that?
Kool-Aid Man.
I'll find the source, and I'll make sure that I bring it to Monday's show or share it with the team.
Yeah, no. We should definitely cover it on Monday, because there was another story too, Shaun, that I was going to cover today, but did not make it into the lineup, but is going to be in Monday's lineup, and that one that kind of dovetails on this, where it's saying that the hemp industry is basically going to be saved by this executive order that Trump's marijuana order throws a lifeline to the hemp industry. And so we are going to cover that on Monday as well. And so that story that you're referencing, I think, would be a perfect dovetail in regards to put it in the Monday lineup. So make sure that you guys tune in on Monday. And go ahead, Shaun. Then we're gonna. It's
marijuana moment. It came from the same press junker where Dr. Oz was talking about the CBDs. He said up to 500. So it came from. It's on marijuana moment.
Oh well, I don't. I'm not sure if I'm gonna buy that one yet. Then, but nonetheless, it's okay. We're gonna keep this train rolling. We're gonna roll into our next commercial. We're gonna be right back.
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
Yeah. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash the like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. And YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.high9news.com. And again, we do want to make sure that if you ever cannot find us here on YouTube, that you make sure that you are following us on X and Rumble, as we know that YouTube is not as stable of an environment and a platform for free speech as X and Rumble are. So make sure that you are following us on those channels. If you ever can't find us here on YouTube, you can always find us there. The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And With the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated. There we go, and also too, make sure coming in late January of 2026 is going to be a new Anna's in Long Beach, Anna's Pizza Joint coming in, and so we can't wait to check that out, and we'll let you know when that opens up as well. But nonetheless, we're going to keep this train rolling, and we're going to roll right in to Miss Shaun Salvaje. She's a mom. She's a mediator that tries to keep people in line and from killing each other and choking each other out. That's maybe why she's a mom as well. And she's also a veteran who had to keep other people in line as well. That's right. It is another, while holding the line, it is none other than Miss Shaun Salvaje.
Thank you, Jason.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm just trying to get everyone across the finish line.
Yeah.
Today's story, speaking of which, getting across the finish line, we're not done here in Texas. We've got some work ahead of us. Blessed Christmas surprise. I received a link right before Christmas. On Christmas Eve, the Grinch hit me with some news. According to a filing, so this is an original story. We've included the link to the filing on the website so you guys can take a look at it for yourself, because this has not been widely publicized from what I can see. But we do have the proposed rules that DSHS will discuss at the January 9th meeting here in Austin for rulemaking when it comes to consumable hemp products here in Texas. So according to a filing submitted to this Texas Secretary of State website, it was on their archive. I got it on December 24th, but it was archived for December 26th, 2026. So the Executive Commissioner of the Texas Health and Human Services Commission, on behalf of the Department of State Health Services, has proposed amendments to Title 25, Chapter 300, the rules governing the manufacture, distribution, retail sale of consumable hemp products in Texas. I'm going to give you a quick summary of what that is. I highly recommend you click that link and send it to your lawyer. These rules trace back to House Bill 1325, which created the Texas Health and Safety Code Chapter 443, and the current Chapter 300 rules have been in effect since August 2nd, 2020. The state says this update is driven by Governor Greg Abbott's Executive Order GA56 that was issued September 10th, 2025, directing DSHS to amend the rules to, 1, prohibit the sale of consumable. Now let's pay attention here. This is what Governor Abbott asked them to do. Prohibit the sale of consumable hemp products to minors, add age verification requirements, update testing requirements, and update record keeping requirements. That's it. Take a look at those rules. They did a whole lot more. Here are the biggest proposed changes stakeholders need to know. First, a major fee increase. Our current licenses are in the range of a couple $100s. That's what makes it accessible. That's what makes our market open. That's what makes it competitive. Anyone can enter the market. This proposal increases the initial renewal licensing fee for consumable hemp manufacturers to $25,000 annually, up from a few $100s to $25,000, and increases retail registration fees to $20,000 annually per location. Second, expanded inspection access. This one I'm not totally against. The proposal adds a written consent requirement for the TABC, that's the Texas Alcohol Beverage Commission, or the TABC, to enter the premise to conduct physical inspections for both manufacturers and retail hemp registrants. Under the application provisions, written consent will be required for entry by DSHS, DPS, TABC, and other law enforcement agencies for inspections and compliance checks. That is so that way TABC agents can make sure you're not selling to minors. This is pretty standard, actually, and I'm not totally against them being able to inspect product, COAs, et cetera, if we're going to keep the market open. If we're not going to do that, I think this is all laughable, because with those fees and the other rules that they've proposed, there's not going to be a lot of retailers still operating. Third, new age restrictions and enforcement. The proposal defines a minor as anyone under 21, prohibits the sale to minor, and sale to minor is grounds for license or retail registration revocation. The industry asked for that. That one's pretty standard. Fourth, major updates to testing and product documentation. The proposal outlines testing requirements for raw hemp, hemp-derived ingredients, and finished consumable products, including testing for cannabinoids, contaminants like heavy metals and pesticides, and THC-related measures. Here's the big red paint. It includes delta-9 THC, total delta-9 THC, and total THC to include THCA. That's what put flower on the chopping block. Acceptable text also adds definitions for THC, total THC, and total delta-9 THC, and defines acceptable hemp THC. So here's how edibles and beverages stay alive. Acceptable hemp THC level as a total delta-9 THC concentration, again on dry weight basis, when reported with labs measurement of uncertainty, includes a result of 0.3% or less. So we're sticking with the 0.3% rule by dry weight. That's how you get beverages through and how you get edibles through. But now flower is on the chopping block, and retailers, without flower, you cannot build a full dispensary retail system on edibles and beverages alone. You can sell those products in other stores, like your convenience stores and grocery stores and anyone who has a TABC license, but this will kill our cannabis retailers. So, and that is when the state projects the numbers that they'll make, the numbers that it'll cost, and then the numbers that it'll kill, the industry that it'll kill. They've got some fuzzy math.
Some cop math in there.
I'll take this dry weight, but we need something for flower because our medical program does not and will not include flower. Fifth, at least not right now, guys. Fifth, transportation restrictions. The proposal adds language prohibiting the transport into Texas for further processing within Texas of ingredients containing THC above 0.3%. This is important because of those new total THC rules is going to change. Basically, Texas has been able, if you want to do local business, you can do local business. If you want to outsource some ingredients, you can outsource some ingredients because it's all hemp. So I'm telling you, it's one of the most open markets. 6, packaging and label changes, but that's all about to change if these rules go through. Labels would have to include a URL. We're okay with this. Linking to the COA, like a QR code, including the amount of cannabinoid per serving unit, total THC and total delta-9 THC, plus recommended serving sizes in milligrams and servings per container. The proposal also adds specific warning statements like keep out of reach of children, and warnings about THC and drug tests, psychoactive effects, pregnancy and nursing, and FDA evaluation. It also adds new packaging requirements. They must be tamper-evident, child-resistant, resealable when needed, and non-attractive to children, with specific restrictions on kid-attractive edible shapes and packaging, including packaging that imitates products primarily marketed to minors or includes an image of a celebrity. No celebrity endorsements here. No Mike's Bites. But no Mike's Bites anywhere. Now here's what lawmakers and voters should pay attention to next. The state's fiscal note estimates $2 billion per year in increased revenue. So they're saying if we do this, we'll get $2 billion more. And they said they use this number $2 billion a lot. These numbers don't add up. So they said they'll increase revenue to $2 billion for the state over the next 5 years, tied to enforcing and administering the rules. To make this $2 billion, they want to cut what is already an $8 to $10 billion industry that includes flower. So math's not mathing. And that would divert about $6 billion into the illicit market competition, because if you cut flower, it's not going anywhere. It'll still be here. I don't know how any of this will make sense. Agency Small Business Analysis says there will be an adverse economic effect on small businesses, micro businesses, and rural communities due to higher fees and compliance costs. Also, due to the fact that they've kind of languaged out any viability for selling THCA flower, which is the bulk of sales. That's huge. Estimating about 9,900 entities, that's the majority of our retailers out here in Texas, they would be subject to rules with projected total impact of, again, $2 billion. It's just not adding up. It's like when the states pick that number and they say, we estimate this is going to generate $420 million of revenue. And it's like, where'd you get that? Where'd you get those numbers? We included a link in the story to Whitney Economics report on the actual impact of the hemp industry in Texas. that we discussed with legislators. Public comments are open. There will be a meeting on January 9th to discuss these rules. Written comments can be mailed, hand-delivered, or emailed to HH Rules Coordination Office at hhs.texas.gov. To be considered, your comments, or you must register to testify in person no later than 31 days after the date of the issue of the Texas Register. That's January 7th, guys. So on January 7th, you must register for this meeting on January 9th, okay? High at 9 News will continue tracking progress, but everyone, I hate to bust up your Christmas holiday, but we got to get back to work. The new year's starting early, and just at least be grateful it didn't start in November like it did last year when the ledge announced trying to ban hemp entirely. We're almost to the finish line on this, but we've got to push it all the way across, make sure that we protect flower while we develop a medical program, and buy ourselves some time while the federal government figures out this rescheduling thing. There's no sense in making arbitrary rules when we don't know what's going to happen federally. So I'm going to toss it back to y'all. We got a lot of work to do here in Texas.
Yeah, lots of work. You guys got lots to do in big Texas going on out there. And Brian Dombrowski in the chat, he says, show up, folks, and make sure your voices are heard. The proposed rules need a few changes, but it's a step in the right direction. This is way more than what the executive order gave permission to do.
Yes, and we should probably talk about, I think that's what we need to talk about with DSHS, is he made very specific ask to create a few guidelines, don't get crazy.
Yes.
Because he understands if you disrupt this market, you send all of that money to the illicit market. And in a state like Texas, a border state, a coastal state, a large market, a global market, you can't afford to fuck it up.
Not to mention it's right there on the Gulf of America. Just saying.
Jason.
Just saying. Sorry, I can't help
No
myself
comment.
sometimes.
No
Sean.
comment.
right next
I know
to
you
that.
can't help yourself.
I know. What you think, Dr. Mark? They're gonna screw the pooch in big Texas?
Well, I think, I mean, it's bold again to consider. You know, I remember when we asked Dale this question last week, right? About, federal law, in this case, trumps state law, right? Right?
It does.
So I was just going to say, how do the existing regulated cannabis markets thrive in this new thing? I see what Texas is doing, and Texas was kind of like caught between hemp and the regulated cannabis thing. I know, some of the operators down there, but just going back to, again, just the more general question of how does the executive order and anything that comes out of that affects the current regulated markets? Because I think there's still some uncertainty about that going forward. At least Texas was still in the formative stages of trying to figure out their THC game, right, Shaun? So I would think that, again, being a coastal state, being a border state, all the things that you mentioned, also being, one of the biggest fucking states, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Texas got just a huge market. You can't, I guess, and again, Shaun, your point is really well taken. You can't, like the tax in Michigan, anything. You want to encourage traffic to your dispensaries, to your regulated market, right? You want to do everything, basically take it, I guess, away from the illicit market or the trap market. But anything that kind of goes against what the public really wants, whether it's a THC limit or whether it's some over onerous regulation or child-proof packaging or whatever, it's just going to push people the other way, because they don't have to do that with, I just get a bag of weed from my guy down the block. I mean, I don't have to worry about THC caps and all that other bullshit. But
And I agree with you. The reason that this market is so special is because we had this unique moment after the pandemic where a lot of operators, because we were all locked down, there was a lot of cross-state communication, learning from each other and figuring out what was going to be next in the game, because we had that huge pandemic cash infusion. So you have a lot of legacy or traditional operators who would have been in the illicit market after 2020, but instead they went this route through hemp, because this is the definition that our legislators gave us here in Texas, allowed it to happen. And no, look, Texas, Rome is not burning. Everything is good. We have consumption lounges. We have people proactively regulating themselves. Let's just keep the flower. Keep it for 2 years until the ledge meets again after this reschedule conversation has happened. Nothing traumatic or dangerous has happened when it comes to hemp. It is not a state emergency. We have a lot of other shit that we could deal with. We've already contributed $325 million in taxes to the general revenue and the licensing fees from hemp and other things. We know that law enforcement testified during the legislature, those funds, they didn't have enough funds to actually fund enforcement for the hemp program, but they did use those funds to fund enforcement for fentanyl and rape kits. Why would you trade an $8 to $10 billion market that's already contributing down to a $2 billion gummy and beverage market, it completely eliminating a huge base of patients who don't have medical flower and won't have it for 2 years unless your companies are diverting? I don't know. You picked your licensees. We'll find out. But unless they're diverting, you still got 18 months to 24 to get those medical programs up, and they don't include flower. And we're still, I understand dry flower vaporization is a conversation to be had, but it's not happening right now. We got to protect our flower because it's our farmers. That's our lifeblood of Texas. That's also what keeps the market innovative. And those retail shops, they'll have to figure it out. If this goes through and we lose flower, you're going to have to go beyond this dispensary model. You're going to need to sell other products, get into wellness, and figure out a new pathway, but also be ready for all of this to be medicalized and for you need to partner with a physician.
I mean, really, what's going to end up happening is they're just going to go and start selling mushrooms too, if they're not already. Just saying. It's the natural next evolution.
The psilocybin guys are going to lose their shit.
Yep. Jesse, any final thoughts on this before we move on?
I mean, I'm just wondering if the executive order and what happens on the federal level goes the way that we think it does. It kind of sounds like Texas might get left in the dust if they're not careful.
Well, they've got to be working together. I think Abbott and Trump are way too close not to be figuring this out together. I don't think that Abbott is in the blind over here. Well, we just need our rulemaking agencies to come to the light too.
I think if that's the case, then they need to wait and see what happens in regards with this updated farm bill, and then just do a reactionary bill based off of what the farm bill says, because the farm bill is ultimately gonna change the whole game, and that I anticipate is going to be our October surprise that will actually deschedule cannabis will be the vehicle. And Brian Dombrowski in the chat again, he says we have to be real about flower now. The teacup has the vapes, and bottom line is my veteran brothers and sisters don't have time to wait for a beverage or gummy to kick in when they are in a crisis. Well said, Brian. Well said, buddy. And on that, we are going to roll into our final commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, you know? And I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade. And in a GMP certified facility, so you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Right there.
You know, if
yes,
you own
and we're
hell
back.
and you
We're
own
back.
Texas, you live in hell and you rent out Texas.
Whoa. Easy there. We love Texas. We love Texas. It's a great
Well, that's
state.
why y'all don't mess with Texas.
Yeah, don't
That's
mess with Texas. Oh, man.
Because you'll catch hell.
Well,
No,
all
man.
the X's are in Texas, right?
That's the
Yes.
yes.
Unfortunately.
You know,
And the hats are in Tennessee.
Yes, and we're going to keep this train rolling, and we're going to roll right into Mr. Jesse Barney. He is a branding expert at Barney Design Co., where he can take your brand to the highest plateaus. He can decorate your brand for the holidays or even make it ready for any other functional occasion that may be happening later in the new year. That's right, in 2026. Give your brand a fresh rebrand with Barney Design Co. It is none other than Mr. Jesse Barney.
Thank you, Jason. My story comes out of the Marijuana Herald this morning. Another study
Yeah.
for our Dr. Fridays, missing Dr. T. I know he's with family, but we always miss him when he's missing.
Is it from
You as
China?
well, Dr. Mark. What's that?
No, China. No China.
No.
It may
So
be from the Biden administration, though. Very possibly from the Biden administration, but we'll see.
Okay, so the headline is this: study: medical marijuana linked to sustained improvements in sleep quality over 1 year.
See what I'm saying, Jesse?
I know.
Mm-hmm.
A year-long study following adults newly enrolled in Pennsylvania's medical marijuana program found sustained improvements in self-reported sleep quality, with benefits appearing early and remaining stable over time. The research was conducted by investigators from Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine and published in the Journal of Cannabis Research. Poor sleep is one of the most frequently cited reasons patients turn to medical marijuana. Yet data on longer-term outcomes have been limited. To address this gap, researchers tracked 137 adults who were newly referred for medical marijuana treatment and assessed changes in sleep quality over a 12-month period. Participants completed the Pittsburgh Sleep Quality Index at the start of the study and again at 3, 6, 9, and 12 months. The index produces a global sleep score, with higher scores indicating worse sleep, along with several subscales measuring different aspects of sleep quality. Researchers used statistical models to examine how these scores changed over time and whether outcomes differed based on preferred method of use or the medical condition that prompted the referral. The analysis found that global sleep scores were significantly worse at baseline and then at every follow-up point, indicating meaningful improvements in sleep quality after starting medical marijuana. Notably, there were no significant differences among the follow-up assessments themselves, suggesting that the improvement occurred relatively early and was maintained throughout the year. Improvements were seen across all measured aspects of sleep. The study also found no significant relationship between sleep outcomes and whether patients preferred oral products or other forms of administration. Similarly, sleep improvements did not differ based on whether patients were referred for chronic pain, anxiety, or post-traumatic stress disorder. Researchers caution that the findings rely on self-reported sleep measures and note that controlled studies using objective sleep data are needed to better understand how medical marijuana affects sleep over time. Well, this is an interesting study. It does, as it notes at the end, it is kind of flawed because it's self-reported and it's just reported data rather than accurately studied with controlled and the whole thing. So I would have liked to seen a study that's actually tracking REM sleep and actually tracking brain wave information and seeing real things rather than just reporting what they think their sleep is doing, because what we think our sleep is doing and what it's actually doing can be different. So, and there's some big arguments in the medical field. I know Dr. Huberman, who's very famous brain guy. He has huge issues with cannabis and says that it eliminates REM sleep. And so there's a big argument going on with this. And I would like to see more, something that could actually be used to fight that, if that's actually what's going on. Dr. Mark, do you have thoughts on this and some knowledge about what's going on here?
Yeah. I think you point out the flaw of the study, which is that it's just self-reporting, but this is actually exactly what this program was designed to do, which was to couple some of the Pennsylvania medical research colleges, like Thomas Jefferson, this one in Philly, and other ones, Temple and whatnot, with medical cannabis providers, so they can do this kind of observational clinical studies, if you will, right? There's no, right, you're not tracking REM sleep, you're not looking at blood pressure, you're not looking at airway blockage or anything. So it's not like a sleep study, but this is basically with the program that they have in place, what they can do. What they can do, though, Jesse, I would take it that this is what they're doing. They want to basically get this data first and then go back to the NIH and say, hey, we need, $500,000 to study this in a more closely controlled way. So you actually get clinical data from that. So, research is often, you're taking what's known and try to address the current frontier, wherever that is, and then try to take small baby steps into the unknown. And maybe they needed to establish this first in order to get that next tranche of funding to enable the real sleep study that they want to do. But I think, again, just to reiterate, this is showing us what we've known for years, is that cannabis and the endocannabinoid system does play a role in sleep, and does play a role in how your body heals itself while it sleeps. So I think part of the magic of cannabis is it does help restore that sleep cycle, and that's part of the reason why it works, because your body during its sleep cycle does a lot of repair, does a lot of, kind of maintenance, while the kids aren't at home, So I think that this speaks to that. But yeah, Jesse, I mean, they're just doing the best they possibly can. In order for that school now to get cannabis to do the study that you're interested in doing, now they just can't partner with a state licensed facility and get cannabis that people in Pennsylvania are actually using. Now they got to, get a Schedule I license and get it from University of Mississippi. So in that way, changing the schedule will affect the way that these researchers can access cannabis, do the follow-up study.
Well, you know what I think happened in this study, you guys? I think the reason that it's what did you mention, the type of study that it was like kind of like anecdotal,
observational?
Jesse? Yeah, observational. Yeah. I think the reason it was observational is because the researchers fell asleep during this study and it worked so well, and that's why it was strictly an observational study, is because they had to frame it in that way because it worked so well.
You see a lot of cannabis scientists like Dr. Riley Kirk and Miyabi Shields, who will do these kinds of science of smokability studies because they have such a massive social following. They're able to get like 50,000 participants into their studies. And a lot of times, to Dr. Mark's point, he's absolutely right. The best way to it takes funding to do these studies. Often the scientists don't have the funding themselves. They're in the lab, guys. So you got to get someone who's willing to invest that. And typically to get that, it's going to be a company who has a product and they want to prove a point. Or you have an organization that actually really cares and they want to donate to science, but that is so far in between. So this kind of study where you can get anecdotal survey data and compile it in mass is exactly what you need to do. It's like that first step to getting Because paying for all of those machines and the EEGs to watch everything, monitor, get the study, survey participants, sign all the rules, get all the legal shit in order, that's very expensive. So I'm all about it. More for this. I love it. And noticed in the comments, everybody was saying they really love their CBN, and this seems to be one of the molecules that we can agree on when we talk about synthesizing new molecules from THC. Aging, oxidizing, getting to CBN seems to have a lot of really positive effects, and less of those euphoric or the feeling of being high, I guess, than THC. I also think CBN works really nicely for folks who have an adverse reaction. CBN and Delta 8. Folks who tend to have a really intense reaction to THC, I've noticed over the course of a few years, they seem to respond better to Delta 8 given its half-life. So this is giving me hope. More innovative studies to
its
figure
half-life
this
and
out.
Delta 9's half-life are almost identical. You can't differentiate based on that. That's hocus pocus bullshit.
Yeah. Look at that.
Yeah.
That's fine. Hey, that's fine. I'm sharing that I've noticed. I don't know about half-life, whatever. That's speculative.
I only know about whole life.
Delta 8, the reason why people are reporting a lower potency on Delta 8 is because there's all kinds of other crap in there. Because there is no pure Delta 8. Delta 8
It's basically cut. It's all cut, right?
Yeah, there's other crap in there.
It's like getting it's like
Yeah.
getting bunk
not
cocaine.
Delta 8 fans.
Yeah, it's like getting bunk cocaine. You know what I'm saying? Hella cut.
I have nothing wrong with the molecule itself. It reminds me of one of my favorite molecules, Delta 9. I have no problem with Delta 8. The fact is that the reason why Delta 8 products are being made today is because people want to get high, right? And you're converting CBD into an isomer soup that, is enriched with Delta 8. But stick with plant-derived
So I
Delta 9.
I hear you. So if the half-life is because there's more carrier
when you say
or other...
half-life, what are you referring to? It's metabolic half-life?
No, no.
Between Delta 9 and Delta 8 are just about the same in the body. That's why
I'm not talking about that. I said just the speculative, just the anecdotal experience that I've heard over the years from people who consume Delta 8 who say that it has a less of a significant experience when compared.
That's why I'm telling you.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's okay. I don't produce Delta 8 and I don't consume it, but there is something to be said about understanding, okay, so if there's other stuff in it that is diluting the experience and it's creating an opportunity for people who can't handle THC to still have a cannabinoid experience, yes, can we clean it up? And that's why they want to pharmaceuticalize some of these things, because you want to make sure your extraction methods and everything is clean. You
want to get less high, just take less Delta 9.
Yeah.
Not everybody wants to get high. And I think we need to realize that the majority consumer in the future isn't always going to want to be impaired. They want to have options.
You know what, Shaun?
You're looking to get high, period.
Shaun, the reality of it is this, is if they don't want to get high, then they shouldn't be consuming cannabis. Or maybe the cannabis companies, hold on, Shaun. Maybe instead of producing all this Delta 8 crap, which we know is total bullshit, they should be focused on creating a microdose version of Delta 9. Just a microdose version. They already do it for psilocybin, so why not do it for Delta 9?
Guys, first of all, it's really fun to be smug when you have full spectrum Delta 9 in California.
You have it everywhere. It's everywhere.
Listen to me. Delta 8 happened because you didn't have it all those years ago.
That's not why it happened. I know the people that invented it. That's not why it happened.
The retailers could not sell Delta 9 in states that did not have programs that allowed Delta 9 because of the specific language regarding Delta 9 levels.
That's not why it was created at all. It was
something that came from that. And yes, you can have your issues with Delta 8. That doesn't negate the fact that not all consumers, especially the majority demographic of future consumers, not all consumers want to just be high. And I hear
That's
what
why
you're
they
saying.
have low dose. That's why they have those 1 milligram beverages that you guys like so much.
I love to smoke weed, but not everybody has the same response to those molecules. You're completely ignoring that everyone has an individual experience with these molecules and that we have a full range of them to choose from, not just one, not just THC. And if it was so not with value, if it had no value at all, why the hell do they want to try to capture it then?
Because people are making a shit ton of fucking money selling it. That's why.
Exactly. And people sell shit all day.
Nothing to do with patients, has nothing to do with anything other than making money.
Exactly right.
There's greedy people in the world who are turning cheap CBD into a product that kids can take and get high. That's it.
Yep.
End of story. Let's stick with plant-derived Delta-9, right? Because Mother Nature is a better chemist.
That's
these
right.
hillbillies making Delta-8, man.
That's
it's
right.
Just, whatever, man.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah.
I think we're all
Listen,
here.
I'm a plant.
Hold on, Shaun. Let me finish. We all see the magic of the plant, but I think in the case of Delta-8 was kind of a thing that squeaked through in states where people wanted to make money for people getting high. No one is consuming Delta-8 without wanting to get high, right? That's what they're consuming Delta-8 for, to get high. It agonizes CB1, just like Delta-9. And I'm telling you, if I made you a sample of Delta-8 and I had a sample of Delta-9 and you took both of them, you could not tell the difference between the two. Most people can't. The reason why you could tell the difference between Delta-8 that's on the market is because there's a ton of other crap in there. And I'm not the only researcher who's published on that. There's other researchers that have found all kinds of shit in there. So the fact is that I think, and again, I've said this on High 9 News, I believe with cannabis prohibition going away, which we're witnessing, I believe the market for recreational synthetics will go away. There'll still be people who want to do synthetics, chase the dragon, take THCP all weekend long, get as fucked up as they want. That's great. The majority of people, I think, just want good quality cannabis.
I think you're right about that, Dr. Mark, because if you look at it, people still buy spice.
And good quality cannabis.
I agree with
will
you.
snuff out Delta-8.
Yeah.
I'm a plant
and I are in
purist.
agreement. There shouldn't be Delta-8. Delta-8 was just a flash in the pan that'll go away.
Okay. I mean, I'm a plant purist, so you're preaching to the choir here, but I do see that they created Delta-8, that it is an isomer that does have some value, and yes, there may be other things in those products, but there is a reason why they want to have that in the pharmaceutical market, and there are other cannabinoids that have value, and not everybody who is interested or curious about cannabis wants to get high. I'm going to disagree with that one, but we can agree to disagree.
Well, here's the thing. Brian Dombrowski in the chat, he threw this in there, and I think this is the perfect way to sum it all up. He says, how about we give Big Pharma Delta-8, THCP, and HHC to go along with their Marinol and Cisamet and call it square?
I'm totally in agreement with that.
I think I'm down with that.
Absolutely think that is.
I'm down with that.
100%.
Jesse, any final thoughts before we move to the final story?
I got lost. I don't know how we connected that to sleep.
He slept through the whole discussion. The sleep is working so powerfully right now. You could have been one of those researchers on that study you covered, Jesse.
I needed to be.
Yeah, sounds like
cannabinoid for that, Jesse.
I know.
And so, all right, we're going to roll into the final story of the day, and this is the story that Dr. T was going to cover today if he was able to make it today. And just so you know, it's a very long story. You can read the whole thing on our website. So I'm just going to read a portion of it, and we'll kind of discuss it from there. Then they say that the medical cannabis hype hits a wall like the Kool-Aid Man as researchers reveal big evidence gaps. That's right. A large review led by the UCLA Health reports that medical cannabis does not have strong scientific evidence for most of the conditions it is commonly used to treat, including chronic pain, anxiety, and insomnia. The analysis published in JAMA examined more than 2,500 studies released between 2010 and September of 2025, and these included randomized clinical trials, meta-analysis, and clinical
guidelines. Researchers gave special attention to more than 120 studies that stood out for their large sample sizes, recent publication dates, relevance, and range of topics, and the findings arrive as cannabis and cannabinoids such as CBD continue to gain popularity. A 2018 survey found that 27% of people in the U.S. and Canada reported using cannabis for issues like pain relief, anxiety, and sleep difficulties, and public perception and scientific evidence do not align. Dr. Michael Su of UCLA Health, the review's first author, said many people believe cannabis provides broad medical benefits, even though the latest research often does not support those beliefs. In a quote, while many people turn to cannabis seeking relief, our review highlights significant gaps between public perception and scientific evidence regarding its effectiveness for most medical conditions, said Su. Health Sciences Clinical Assistant Professor at UCLA Health Department and Psychiatry of Biobehavioral Sciences. Clear guidance from our clinicians is essential to support safe, evidence-based decision-making when discussing medical cannabis with their patients. And proven benefits are limited to specific conditions, and the review found that pharmaceutical-grade cannabinoid products approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration do show clear benefits, but only for a small number of conditions. These include treatments for HIV/AIDS-related appetite loss, chemotherapy-induced nausea and vomiting, and certain severe pediatric seizure disorders such as Dravet syndrome and Lennox-Gastaut syndrome. Outside of these uses, evidence supporting cannabis-based treatments remains unclear or insufficient, and even though more than half of medical cannabis users report using it to manage chronic pain, current clinical guidelines advise against cannabis-based medicines as a first-time option for chronic pain treatment. But there's also mental health and cardiovascular risks are highlighted, and the researchers also examined potential health risks linked to cannabis use. Long-term data from adolescents suggest that high-potency cannabis may be associated with higher rates of psychotic symptoms. Well, first of all, we're all going to call bullshit on that, because we know that, of course, if you're already predisposed to being psychotic, of course, cannabis is going to raise your percentages, and that's really what this is all quantifying. But nonetheless, this is a total, in my opinion, a prohibitionist article, and we're just kind of going to call it there. You can read all of the rest of this prohibitionist rhetoric online, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. But I imagine that with Schedule 3, a lot of this information that is in this article is going to be proven wrong or incorrect, because a lot of it they're trying to say is anecdotal evidence and da-da-da-da, and it's not backed up by science, and that's because we haven't been funding any science. But once we get to Schedule 3, Dr. Mark is going to take care of that, and he's going to be doing nothing but grant writing to get all these studies going and funding through HHS, through our MAHA movement. What do you got to say, Dr. Mark?
Oh, this is the JAMA article that just keeps dogging this High at 9 show. We've covered this article 4 times now, I think, right?
Yeah. Well, it's always a different article, but same topic. Yes.
It's the same JAMA article talking about Eric Sue at UCLA.
Yeah.
I think it's the same one, right? I mean, we've talked about this almost every episode I've been on. High at 9 this month. So
that's because the prohibitionist arguments don't change.
They don't.
They're using the same study. They only have a few.
Well, remember that this is not a single study, right? This is a review of several studies, right?
Correct. This is their year-end synopsis, basically, Dr. Mark.
Yeah, and you know, I said it when I first covered, before the rest of the press caught up with me, covered this article. When I first covered this back at the beginning of the month, right? We talked about this, and I looked at this as a glass half full versus half empty. I think it's good that JAMA, which is the most widely read and highest echelon of medical journals in the world, is being read by doctors across the globe. And now doctors are hearing about potential medical uses of cannabis. They're also hearing that there's more research that needs to be done, that things aren't completely a closed a deal yet. But I think, you know, and I said it before, that the prohibitionists could use this and say, look at all this stuff. It leads to schizophrenia. It leads to this. It leads to that. There's cyclic vomiting. There's all this other thing.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that, you know.
Yeah, you basically already got it, Baltimore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Dr. T and other doctors like Dr. T who consider using cannabis as a frontline medication to treat a variety of different conditions are going to have a better outcome for their patients in general. And maybe that's what will happen in the medical marketplace as we get more doctors like Dr. T. More people are going to realize that, you know, those doctors really are looking at a more broad view of how to treat, you know, disease and medical conditions. And those are going to be the ones that are going to have successful practices, and the ones who are just, you know, drones of the pharmaceutical companies are going to fall by the wayside. But the last thing I'll say, and again, just as we've covered this article a lot, is that when doctors read about this and they hear about all the conditions, I think there's some disbelief. It's like, oh my God, there's no way that one single plant could be used to treat so many medical conditions. Right. And so what I hope is that doctors will read that, question it, and then want to take a little bit of a deeper dive. And I think when they take that deeper dive and they understand that the endocannabinoid system, right, the body's own regulatory system on which these compounds in the plant act on are governing all other systems in the body, then maybe they could have a realistic view on how to use it in their practice. So,
Dr. Mark, in that analogy of taking that dive in the pool, would we say that the shallow end would be filled with Delta 8 and then the deep end would be filled with Delta 9?
The kiddie pool's filled with Delta 8.
Yeah.
There is a place for many molecules, and like I said at the beginning, I'm over here talking about eating THCA through the leaves for anti-inflammatory food nutritional properties. So I'm not going to get smeared as some big fanatic for Delta 8, but I am going to say these molecules deserve study, and there are numerous applications. This JAMA thing, I think one thing that is really interesting to me is how the prohibitionists will bring up these anti-medical arguments now that we're going to see rescheduling. I'm looking forward to seeing what the response is, because you have to remember that a lot of this behind this are PR strategists and campaigns. And so if we're going to see a lot of this anti-medical push, I would love to see the industry push more nutraceutical, because I think we're also misunderstanding cannabis by, yes, it has medicinal benefits 100%, but taking care of your health and wellness and eating good food, and yes, not eating or inhaling hydrogenized processed materials, although you have the right to do whatever the fuck you want. Not doing that is going to lead to better health outcomes, and that's medicinal. Does that make it pharmaceutical medicine? No. And that I'm hoping we can get to a space where we're looking at this more as a nutraceutical food and plant that you can use as a medical ingredient than a pharmaceutical drug with exclusively medical benefits. I worry about that. If we if we lean too much on medical, we are leaning into the trap. We need to make sure that we're having a nutraceutical conversation, from my perspective.
Interesting. Jesse, what do you got to say? Final words, Jesse. Final words, Dr. Mark.
Well, that seems to be what the executive order is leaning into, is that there is the path to nutraceutical is through research and through the medical path, and we've already opened that up. The federal government's not going to be okay with adult use programs, it doesn't look like. So getting to nutraceutical through adult use isn't necessarily the way. So hopefully what happens is this does open up. We get tons of real research that's really great. And then the doctors are going to realize what was alluded to, that there's an endocannabinoid system, that there's tons of interfacing going on with these cannabinoids and terpenes in your body, and making all kinds of things happen, and that it's on that wellness level, right? So I think that's the only way we're going to get there, and hopefully that's how it works.
Final words, Dr. Mark.
Yeah, I think we need more doctors like Dr. T, and more doctors to tune in the High at 9 News.
Fair enough. And on that, oh man, let me scroll down. I'm so sorry. That's such a long story. Man. There's so much for you guys to read on the website, but this So man, so much scrolling going on. But thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. And big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst Cannabis for helping us keep the lights on and weed for the people. And thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing, you guys. And thank you all to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day. And thank you to Cloud Media partners Elias and Gabriel. They're somewhere in the metaverse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show. Patented and trademarked.